is Malcolm Perch, and I am a part of the marketing and business development team at RMC. We'd like to thank you for joining Roadmap Consulting's SBA 360 Solution webinar and encourage you to drop any questions that you may have in the chat feature so that we may address them in an orderly and thorough fashion. If you would like to view this presentation again, it will be linked in our YouTube channel and various social media platforms, and you are more than welcome to schedule a consultation with our speaker after the webinar has concluded. And now, a few words from our Managing Director, Michael Perch.
Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar, SBA 360. Looking forward to having a productive 30 to 45 minutes with you guys, knowing that you're running your own businesses and can't afford to spend too much time. We're certainly looking to provide you with some valuable information on our program and how we help companies to gain access to a very attractive federal government program called the SBA 8A program. So what you can expect today is that I'm going to go through a presentation, pretty lengthy, a lot of information to talk about. To some of you, this may be information that you're already aware of, but to others, it may be brand new. So I'll spend a little bit of time. I won't focus and spend too much time on each topic, but just kind of brush it over. But what I will do is leave plenty of time at the end for questions. Actually, you can ask questions all throughout the presentation, and we will answer them as we go along, and certainly leave some time at the end to answer questions as well. While we are going to answer your questions, we're also going to ask you some questions. So at various points during the presentation, you will see some survey questions that will pop up that will give us here at RMC a better idea as to who you guys are out in the audience. And we would like you to indulge us in terms of giving us those answers. It helps us to understand better the makeup of the audience that we're presenting to, and also helps us to zero in on certain topics that may be of concern to you, and address those topics. So again, about 30 minutes to get through the presentation. You can certainly ask questions all throughout. I'll take time to answer those questions at various points. And then at the end, we'll have a time to spend answering all questions. The last thing I'll mention before we get started is that as a follow-up to this presentation, we will allow for a free consultation one-on-one with you and your company and all your representatives to join the call, where myself and my staff will evaluate your company and give you some ideas as to how we could be of assistance to you in terms of helping you to get into the program, answer any additional questions you may have, and hopefully be able to forge a business relationship with you. Okay. So Mo, who is in our business development group, Malcolm, and myself, all in the business development group, will be on those calls, and we'll be able to help you hopefully forge a relationship with our firm. Okay. All right. So we're going to get started now with the presentation. A little bit about me. So I have been in and around government contracting now for the better part of 30 years. I started a audiovisual systems integration firm back in the early 90s that was involved in federal government contracting. We got into the 8A program. During that time, we were a GSA schedule holder. We were on various GWACs. We had a top secret security clearance. We did a lot of work within the DoD environment, very fast moving environment, a lot of growth. Company moved very quickly, and we grew into a very large firm upon entering into the program. Ran the company for 17 years, sold the company in 2006. So I successfully exited out of the 8A program about 3 years prior to that. And then I sold the company in 2006. Perfect timing before the recession hit in 2008, where valuations of companies took a dip. So my timing was just right. Spent the next 3 years of my career volunteering with an organization that I hope you guys all know about. It's called SCORE. SCORE standing for the acronym for Service Corps of Retired Executives. Great organization, in case you have not dealt with them before, comprised of various individuals that have been accomplished in their respective fields. And on a volunteer basis, they work one-on-one with clients like yourself to essentially help your company to grow and answer any questions you may have. So I've been a proud member of SCORE since 2006, or excuse me, 2007. I used to do one-on-one counseling at the Washington, D.C. office for 3 years. And then I got started with Roadmap Consulting in 2009. So that kind of I stopped doing that, but I continue to do the webinars and the seminars, the actual live in-person seminars that were taught on the 8A program, getting on GSA schedule, how to achieve your PMP certification, and various other topics that SCORE addressed out of the Washington, D.C. office. So in 2009, I started Roadmap Consulting, essentially because of my love for my relationship with SCORE. I loved dealing one-on-one with companies that were trying to figure out how to do business with the federal government, how to attack this $600 billion market, forging different strategies and coming up with the right partnerships, getting the right certifications, the right contract vehicles. It's a jigsaw puzzle, right? And so it was rewarding to me to work one-on-one with the owners and to basically do what I did in my 17-year run with my company. And that was the genesis of Roadmap Consulting in 2009. Since then, we've assisted well over 300 firms. There's more, I can't even say how many firms, it's well over 300, in anything to do with helping you to win business with the government. And that entails things like getting on GWACs, acquiring your GSA schedule, getting 8A certified. Now, more recently, something that has come up that is very important, in case you haven't heard about it, becoming CMMC compliant at the level 2. Very important that you have that done in the next couple of years. So, we've helped companies to grow. My involvement with helping companies over the years, over the last 15 years, has resulted in over $1 billion in task order awards to our clients. We do a lot of business with a lot of folks nationwide. The SBA 8A program is only one of the services, or I should say SBA 360 is only one of the services we offer. But yeah, we help you in whatever area of need that you need help in terms of doing business with the government. Other things about me, I'm currently on staff as a senior consultant at the DC SBDC Center at Howard University here in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm also an adjunct professor at George Mason University. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me and my background. Needless to say, for the clients that come on board that are looking to get into the 8A program, and not only get into the 8A program, but also grow, we can be of assistance. So my staff and I can certainly assist you in terms of lessons learned, whatever needs to be done to get you in over the hurdle of getting into the program. Then obviously the whole idea of getting into the program is to generate revenue, right? So with that as a view, long-term view, we help you to generate revenue once you're in the program. So I did mention we're going to have polling questions that take place dispersed all throughout the presentation. The first question is, if you guys, aside from looking to get your 8A certification, I want to know how many of you actually have a GSA schedule or other GWAC. And that's interesting to note, because one of the things that you'll hear about during the presentation is that the 8A, getting into the 8A program is not the end of your journey. It's only the beginning. Supplementing the 8A certification with other contract vehicles, with other certifications to make your firm more attractive and easy to get to for the procuring agencies is definitely something that you guys should be thinking about. So it looks like the overwhelming majority of you don't have a GSA schedule or a GWAC, 78%. So that's good information to know. So we'll certainly talk about that during the one-on-one sessions. If you do plan to schedule something with us, we will certainly talk about not only getting into the program, but also helping you to position yourself to win business with the government. All right, so a little bit about Roadmap Consulting. As I mentioned, we've been in business since 2009. We are a federal procurement management consulting advisory and training firm. We have well over 300 clients nationwide. Um, we have within our contracts management group, we have 5 highly trained and experienced um, contract managers that assist you in getting into the program, filling out the application, providing all the information, all the back and forth between SBA and us. We facilitate and help you with. Um, we're also ISO 9001 certified. What that means to you is that we sweat the details, right? We tear apart the application into bite-sized chunks. We have an internal checklist that we go through in terms of making sure that all the application requirements have been properly addressed before we submit to SBA. And then once we submit, we monitor the activity on the part of the SBA analyst. So we sweat the details so that you don't have to as part of our service, right? And that's what our certification as a ISO firm means to you. In addition to SBA 360, we also offer GSA 360 to help you to acquire some of those schedules that I mentioned earlier, such as GSA and some of the other popular GWACs that are out there. We also help you with what we call marketing and capture management as a separate service, or it could be intertwined with the other services, where we give you a comprehensive solution to identify agencies that buy what you sell and come up with a strategy of how to essentially penetrate that agency, find the right program manager, find the right contracting officer, and develop that relationship that will lead to revenue growth on the part of your firm. So MCM 360 is another service that we can talk about that might be of interest to you. In addition to helping companies, we're also a GSA schedule holder ourselves. We do business with the federal government. We provide leadership training to various Navy commands throughout the country. And so we have one business on the part of the government. The relationship we have with the Small Business Development Center at Howard University, and soon to be another SBDC at Florida A&M University, my alma mater, are all government contracts through the SBA that we have been able to forge, and we're going to continue to grow in terms of our relationship with SBDC as we go forth. As our name implies, we are a strategic roadmap, helping you to basically implement successful business practices to help your company to grow. Okay. Now we're going to dive into the 360, or excuse me, SBA 360 service that we provide. It is a proprietary license service as a solution offering that we give to companies, both in terms of with the SBDC, we actually license that service to them so they can actually go out and do their own consultation with clients using our platform, or we also get involved in terms of helping the clients get into the program directly, working with them. So we can do that. It is a turnkey solution from beginning to end. Effective project management software tools, instructive proposal templates. We basically make it easy for you to understand and respond to the requirements of the 8A application. And we've been doing it for 15 years successfully. We've gotten well over 100 companies into the 8A program. We lost count at some point, but it's somewhere between 100 and 200 companies. So we know the 8A program. We know the program office up in Philly, as well as San Francisco, as well as here in the Washington, D.C. office now here recently. So we know all the people that work those offices. So we can help you with the program. Okay. Why is the SBA program important? Why should you consider it? Well, it's a program that basically helps your company as a small business to gain traction within the federal contracting arena, right? So it's a marketing and business development program, along with the Hub Zone program and the Women-Owned Business program, all designed to help you market and develop your business and grow from where you are now into a competitive company ready to do business within the open market with other companies. And of course, it is a designation, once you achieve that designation, that you can use anywhere across the country. And so very attractive designation to have, allowing for what are called sole source contracts, which is the main focus of the program, is to allow you to gain sole source contracts without competition on a negotiated basis with the government. So a business case for gaining the 8A certification is that, as I just mentioned, you can have sole source contracts up to a maximum of $4.5 million. That does allow for tremendous growth, and that's per contract award, not per customer, but per award. And so many companies have been able to develop relationships, have multiple 8A contracts. We have quite a few companies that we work with now that have done that and done it successfully, and it does help you to build a firm foundation of revenue using this designation. So you see popping up on your screen here the second polling question we have, which is, are you in the midst of applying to the 8A program? And so we'd love to get your answers there to find out, because we do get a lot of clients that come in having been frustrated with the application process as opposed to starting fresh with us. So just wanted to know how many of you have already started the process and now you're interested in maybe hiring a consultant like us to help you go the rest of the way. Okay, so if you can provide answers to that, that'd be great. Additionally, other points along the way of why you should consider the program is that contracting officers do have a specific goal of anywhere between 3 and 5% of their acquisition budget to SBD firms, small and disadvantaged business firms, as well as 8A firms. So they're incentivized to look for firms that are in the 8A program, as are prime contractors looking to provide subcontracts based upon their subcontracting goals with the government. They are basically incentivized to find companies like you. So being an 8A firm is a good thing to do. There's also the SBA Mentor Protege program, which is a very popular program, basically pairing companies that have been successful within the 8A program and either have graduated out of the program or are about to graduate out of the program, pairing those companies with companies that are fresh into the program and having all that institutional knowledge that the senior firm has gained over that 9-year run transfer to the new company coming on board. So good program to be a part of. And the program is a 9-year tenure, so that means you got 9 years basically to receive sole source contract awards, at which point you would then graduate out of the program. And certainly you can do a lot of business within that 9-year time frame. Okay. So now, and thank you for providing answers to the polling question. I think it looks like most of you, 2/3, have not started the process, whereas 1/3 have. So that's good information for us to know. Thank you for providing responses to that question. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the 8A program itself. This is probably something that most of you know, but it is a federal government program. It was enacted into public law back in the early 70s. And the goal of the program is basically to provide for a more competitive environment within the federal contracting arena by ushering in companies that would otherwise not have an opportunity to get into the federal contracting marketplace. So targeting firms that are economically and socially disadvantaged according to the government requirements to be a part of the federal procurement program. The program is divided up into 2 phases. The first phase being the developmental stage. And that is the first 4 years that you're in the program. The second part of the program is the transitional stage, the last 5 years that you're in the program. Transitional stage meaning that, well, let me go back to the first one. During the developmental stage, no holds barred, no guidelines, basically generate as much business within the 8A program as you can. No limitations on how many awards you can receive, and that kind of thing. However, during the transitional stage, what SBA does enact is what they call a competitive mix. So they wanted to see that you're now mixing your sole source awards through the 8A program with competitive wins through the GSA schedule, other GWACs, small business competitions, unrestricted competitions. And the whole idea is to have you basically weaned from the 8A program within the last 5 years so that as you exit out of the program, you're not dependent upon the 8A program and can compete within the open market effectively. So that's the whole idea of the transitional stage. The eligibility criteria very quickly. Most of you already know this, but you have to prove to the SBA that you're both socially disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. As far as being socially disadvantaged, there is a presumption, if you're a member of one of these 5 groups, that you are socially disadvantaged. As of last year, in addition to actually stating that you're socially disadvantaged, you do have to give a narrative that describes how you have been socially discriminated against in your career or in your personal life. So there is an additional requirement as of last year that SBA does require with a social disadvantage qualification. Basically, you just have to write, and we can help you with that, a narrative that describes that discrimination that you've experienced. And then economic disadvantage is very straightforward. What SBA is looking for there is a net worth, an adjusted net worth of less than $850,000, where they do allow you to deduct the equity you have in your primary residence, the investment you have in your business, and any retirement assets that you may have. So the resulting net worth calculation has to be less than $850,000 in order to qualify as being economically disadvantaged. Okay. In addition to that, your adjusted gross income has to be less than $400,000 as averaged over the last 3 years. Your AGI has to be less than $400,000 on your last 3 years of tax returns. So that's another qualification as far as being economically disadvantaged. And that applies to the 51% owner of the company. Another criteria is you have to have assets less than $8.5 million. And that does exclude your retirement assets and that sort of thing. Okay. So here that you see now up on the screen is our third polling question, and that is, what are your major concerns about the application process? Short answer there. Just trying to get some ideas to what you guys are concerned about. What are some of the things you've heard that that make you a little bit hesitant about applying to the program, so that we can provide some good answers, some good solutions to those concerns you may have. Okay. As far as the ownership of the subject entity that is applying to get into the program, the company has to be 51% owned by the disadvantaged individual that fits into one of those social disadvantage groups that I mentioned earlier. That is a criteria for partnerships and for limited liabilities, very much the same. 51% is the key. The 51% owner is the person that will not only have the company apply to get into the program, but then they will be evaluated by SBA as the 51% owner individually. So they'll look at you personally, and they also look at your company concurrently to determine whether or not you fit the criteria. One of the things that SBA is very concerned about is who is in control, right? So as the 51% owner of the company, they want to know if you're actually running the company, right? Are you a front to someone else who's basically trying to get into the program and using you as a front man or woman to get into the program? So they ask a lot of very, very penetrating questions, SBA does. And so here are the questions. They want to know that you are, or that you hold the position, the top position of the company, that there's no one above you. So you got to be the president or the chief executive officer or managing partner. They want to know that you're the highest compensated individual within the company. There are some ways that we can get around that in case you are not the most highly compensated person, because sometimes in the startup phase, you do have to pay people more than you're paying yourself. So there are some ways we can address that if that becomes an issue. But by and large, you should be the most highly paid person at your firm in order to get into the program. Do you have the ability to hire and fire? Are you the person calling the shots in terms of, who works for the company and who gets let go? Do you set policies within the firm? Do you have the ability to commit to contracts? And most importantly, do you have control over your disbursements within your bank account, right? So they want to know if you're the only signer on your checking account, dispersing money out of the company. If somebody else is in control of that, then that's a problem for SBA. Okay. They also want to know, does the disadvantaged individual um, devote full-time to the company? That is important because they want to know that you're 100% all in to make the company grow and to be devoted to the company. Sometimes certain individuals have decided to do it on a part-time basis and then apply to the program. SBA unfortunately does not allow that. They want to see that you're full-time devoted. They also want to see if you have the sufficient managerial experience to run the company and basically have the technical expertise to make decisions within the company and have critical licensees within the company as well. Okay, so very important to know all that. All right, so now we want to talk a little bit about the results, the questions that were at, or the question that was asked about major concerns. And so we have one that says, I have, let's see, I'm sorry. I have 3 years of, all right, let me share the results so I can get it out of the way. I have 3 years of at least 25K of profit. New business, don't have a history of the government contracts. So it does not require, getting into the program does not require that you have a history in doing business with the federal government. You can do business in a commercial, within the commercial sector, and that's perfectly fine. So you don't have to have any prior government contracting experience. And then we have somebody here that said that they heard they like to reject applications initially, and then you have to turn around and answer questions again. It takes a lot of time and it's frustrating. I will not argue with you there. It is a very long and arduous process to get into the program. And it does take a while. And the presumption on the part of SBA is that, they want to make sure. They want to make sure that you're not a front. They want to make sure that the business is legit. There are a lot of things they want to qualify you for before they let you into the program, because as we already have established, it is a very attractive program. You can make a lot of money once you're in the program. So there has been attempts in the past of people getting into the program falsely submitting an application and benefiting from the program. So the SBA is challenged with making sure that they let people who are honest and forthright and present the information in an honest fashion. They want to make sure that those are the only companies that get into the program. Okay. All right. And then the last comment we got was that the getting into the AA program itself been shut out twice. Yeah, it is a program, as I said, it does require a lot to basically climb the wall of getting into the program. So, all right. So now I'm going to go back to the presentation. And let's see. Hold on a second. Looks like I may have gotten out of it. So let me get back in. Okay. All right. So, so I did mention the tests that SBA does provide there. They also want to know about the other members of your firm that are working for the company, the non-disadvantaged individuals, making sure that there is no control over someone that is running the company, right? So if you're the 51% owner and you have someone within the firm that has some control over you, SBA will root that out, right, by asking all these questions that you see here. So again, overall, they want to make sure that you're the 51% owner. They want to make sure that you're calling the shots. They want to make sure that you're in control of the firm. Okay. In addition to that, they're going to look at asking questions such as, personally, as the 51% owner, if you've ever been arrested or if you're currently on probation or parole, not necessarily it doesn't kill your chances of getting into the program, but they want you to disclose it and they want you to discuss it with them without being evasive, right? That's the key there. So if you do have something in your background indicated in the application, provide an explanation. We can help you to do that. It's not a deal killer, but if you don't do it, it could be a deal killer. So it does make sense to disclose it. As I mentioned before, they want you to be full-time devoted to the company, so you can't have any outside employment, as you see there. And if there is a need to have a critical license, such as if you're an architectural firm, you have to be a licensed architect, or if you're a general contractor, do you personally have the Class A license? They want to know that because they want to know that there's not anyone else within the firm that has that license that may be able to control you, right? So in addition to that, eligibility criteria on the part of the company, right? So now they're looking at the company and they want to know that in the last 2 years, have you had revenues in excess of $10,000, which most companies do, um, and that you have filed taxes for the previous 2 years, right? You have to be current on your taxes, both in terms of your corporate taxes as well as your personal taxes in order to get into the program, okay? Um, they also want to know if you're profitable. You have to be profitable and you have to have a positive net worth in order to get into the program. Very important that you remember that as well. So when you're looking at your financial statements, looking at your income statement, you have to have, profitability shown there. When you're looking at your balance sheet, you do have to have positive equity in the firm in order to qualify and get into the program. Point number two, does the business earn 70% or more of its revenue from a single client? That is the number one reason why most firms do not get into the program, is that SBA determines that you are economically dependent upon that one client. And so therefore your chances of failure are much higher should that client decide to leave. So for that reason, they want to see that you have a diversified income stream spread among many clients, spread among many contracts, so that if you were to lose one of those contracts, you could continue to operate. So that is a big deal killer there. We've been successful at helping companies to diversify their income stream and get into the program once finding out that they have that 70% dependence upon one client. We've been successful at helping them to, over a course of months and sometimes years, you know, lessen that 70% down to a lower amount. Okay. So if you're in that position, talk to us. We can possibly help you there. They also want to know if you have any unpaid obligations in terms of taxes, both you and the company. And they also want to know if there has been a change in ownership over the last couple of years, because sometimes that indicates that there's something going on that is a bit suspicious if the company has changed hands in terms of the ownership of the company. Okay. All right, so now we have our fourth polling question. And that question is, have you been denied 8A certification? So just a yes or no answer to that. Looks like the majority of people have not been denied 8A certification. By the way, if you have been denied certification, it's okay. We can still work with you. In fact, what we do in that case is we get a copy of your letter. We look at what SBA indicated was the reason for the denial, and we will help you to overcome all those objections on the part of SBA so that the resubmission of your application would be done successfully. Okay. All right, so moving on. There are situations where certain companies have not been in business for that 2-year time frame that SBA does require. If you're in that position, particular position, there is what's called a 2-year waiver that does allow you to get into the program, even if you've been in business less than 2 years or have filed less than 2 years of federal tax returns on the part of your business. And the way that works is that if you do have significant experience in certain areas that can demonstrate to the SBA that you have the technical ability, the managerial ability, the financial capability, and all the operational assets you need in order to run your company, then SBA will allow you into the program if you were to address the 2-year waiver, right? So we help you with filling that out. So if you do need to do that, in addition to your application, we can be of assistance there as well. Okay, so now we're going to go into the application itself. I'm not going to spend a lot of time there because most of you guys know how to fill out an application. But it's basically a series of forms that you'll fill out and submit through the 8A platform that's been set up. So what are they looking for? What is SBA looking for? They're looking for the Form 1790, which is if you were to hire us, you just disclose to SBA that you have hired a consultant. They also look at Form 413, which is your personal financial statement, and all the supporting documentation. Very important there. make the point that not only do you fill out the personal financial statement, but you also have to provide all the supporting documentation that SBA does require, right? In order that they can evaluate your personal assets, your personal liabilities, and so forth. You also have to provide, as I mentioned earlier, your last 3 years of your last 3 years of your personal income tax returns, along with your associated 1099s and W-2s, and proof of payment to the government, or proof of payment to the IRS that you have paid all your taxes. You have to also provide proof of citizenship. Usually that comes in the form of a birth certificate or a passport. And there's also a need to provide a resume for the 51% owner of the firm. All right, so it looks like question number 5 has popped up. Question number 5 indicates, have you ever been 8A certified but haven't received any awards? And looks like the vast majority of you guys have not been 8A certified, so you have not received awards, and just a couple have been 8A certified, but have not received awards. By the way, interesting fact, if you don't remember anything else about this presentation, remember this. The overwhelming majority of firms that get into the program over that 9-year period never receive any contracts. An amazing fact, given the fact that the 8A program can be used effectively. But I think what it reveals, let me repeat that one more time in case you didn't hear it. The majority of the firms that spend all this time getting into the program, applying and jumping over the hurdles and overcoming the objections on the part of SBA, when they get into the program, they don't receive any 8A contract awards over the entire 9-year contract period or tenure in the 8A program. The reason for that is that they don't have an effective marketing strategy, right? They don't understand how the federal government works. They don't understand how the 8A can be used effectively, the 8A designation. And so as a result, they spend 9 years not having gotten any awards. Part of the SBA 360 service that we offer is that we don't just emphasize getting into the program. We also emphasize you winning contracts, right? So we help you in the marketing of your SBA designation. Oftentimes we will pair that with a GSA schedule or other GWAC that can help you to win contracts. We introduce you to teaming partners that help you to gain entry into certain agencies and all that good stuff. So we do a lot of things that ultimately will result in your firm getting approved by the 8A, by the SBA, but more importantly, winning contracts from the procuring agencies that use that 8A designation to sole source contract awards to you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share the results, and then I'm going to close that particular one. All right, so corporate information, just kind of going down the checklist. I won't go down each one, but these are all the items that SBA does need and to supply as far as your company is concerned. All pretty basic documents that I'm sure you guys are aware of, or we can help you to become aware of, that you should have if you're incorporated or you're an LLC or a partnership. All these are pretty straightforward in terms of information. Again, tax returns and on the part of the company, the last 3 years, financial statements, as I mentioned, for the last 3 years, showing profitability and positive equity in your firm. All those things are important as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop with the polling now. Polling doesn't want to seem to go away. All right, so in addition to that, capability statement, bank signature card. Here's the last item on the list. Clients by date and dollar amount. They want to see how your company is diversified as far as your revenue stream is concerned, right? So back to the 70% rule, they want to know that there's not one particular company or agency that you're dependent upon in order to have your company continue to operate, right? So if you do have that, we need to work with you to get that dependence below 70% so that you can get into the program. Misconceptions about the program, that it's an application. It's not an application. It's definitely a process. It's like a tennis match, back and forth. You will, for those of you who have applied, I'm sure you will endorse me when I say this. It is a lot of back and forth between you and SBA before they approve you, right? Usually, we get asked this question a lot. How long does it take? Usually anywhere between 3 and 6 months, but it can be much longer, depending upon some of the issues that are brought up as a result of your some of the answers to the questions in your application. It could take a lot longer, um, but usually between 3 and 6 months, more like sometimes more like in the 6 month time frame, 6 and 9 months, depending upon the caseload on the part of SBA as well. That can be a contributing factor as well. Okay. Another misconception is that that only your company is scrutinized, not you. No, they're actually scrutinizing both you and the company. They're looking very critically at your company, and they're also looking at you as the owner, and making sure that, as we just covered, that all those things that they're concerned about have been answered. So very important that you understand that going in. That the SBA welcomes you into the program versus attempts to find fallacies in your application. As I mentioned earlier, there has been a lot of fraud on the part of companies applying to get into the program. So as a result, the SBA they very highly scrutinize your application. They want to make sure that um, you're not a front, that you're not trying to get another individual, another company into the program falsely. And so they scrutinize your application, and deservedly so. As a taxpayer, I want to know that SBA is safeguarding taxpayer dollars and not awarding contracts to companies that are operating fraudulently. So they do a good job with that. The other thing, a misconception, last thing, is that once you're approved, you'll automatically receive federal contracts. Well, as I mentioned, the vast majority of firms that get into the program over a 9-year run never receive one single contract. It is a business development program. It is also highly focused on self-marketing. So you have to get out and market your firm in order to become successful at utilizing that 8A certification. And sometimes, a lot of times, companies are not very well trained in that arena. I will say this, SBA does offer a lot of training in how you can become very well versed in how to use your 8A certification. So as does SCORE, provides training in that area. So no shortage of resources in terms of the government providing training as to how you can effectively utilize your 8A designation, so that during that 9-year period, you can generate as much revenue as possible. Okay. All right. So we're down to I think the next to last question we have as far as polling. And that is, what can RMC do to help you achieve your business objectives for generating revenue from the federal sector? So if you guys can provide answers to that, that would be great as I continue on. SBA perceived risk factors. So these are all the answers. These are all the categories that SBA has found that basically allows for them to deny an application. And the number one category is potential for success not demonstrated. In other words, they have not seen, as a result of examining your application, that you have what they call the potential for success, meaning that you have positive equity in your firm, you have profitability in your firm, you're not dependent upon one particular client, and that you are ready to get out and generate revenue from the federal government sector that has not been demonstrated. So we help you to overcome that objection if that is indeed where you guys are. Okay. Economic dependence, as I mentioned, the 70% rule. Also affiliation. They want to know that you're not affiliated with any other firm that is, again, using you as a front to get into the program. So they will look very closely at your board of directors makeup. They'll look at whether, let's say, if you have worked for a firm in the past and now you're doing business with that firm, whether or not that firm is controlling you in any way, shape, or form as a front to get into the program. So all those kinds of things they look at. They also will look at control, making sure that you're in control of the company itself. They also want to make sure you don't have too many other ventures, too many business partners. That's a red flag for them to see that that is the case. Also, I mentioned earlier, recent change in ownership is a red flag because it just shows that maybe you're shuffling the deck a little bit, trying to get into the program. And then oftentimes too, they'll say you haven't been in business long enough. Again, you can't overcome that by the 2-year waiver, but in many cases, you don't have the managerial and technical competencies that they're looking for to ensure that once you're in the program. And what the SBA is basically trying to do is they're trying to protect the agencies that you'd be engaging with and making certain that you are a reputable firm, that you're technically competent, before they unleash you to these agencies and they start awarding you contracts. And then they find out that you're not ready to perform on those contracts. So those are the safeguards that they have in place. On a more positive note, here are some of the characteristics that we have determined in working with firms that SBA looks for in terms of a successful 8A application. Even though you can supply the 2-year waiver, it's good that you've been in business for over 2 years, just to show that you're a seasoned company and you've been able to achieve success in terms of generating revenue and being profitable. You're well established. That's important. They like to see that the company's owner has been in place since the inception of the company, right? 100% owner or 51% owner, whatever it might be, but that you've been around since the very beginning of the company. They also want to know that the company's owner has a clean background in terms of taxes or any arrest record or anything like that. Stable management, growing diversified revenue volume is important. Profitability, strong balance sheet. Here's another very important point too that I've seen and certainly witnessed over the years. Getting in as a subcontractor to a prime is one of the best ways for you to establish yourself in the federal contracting arena. And SBA loves to see that on your application, that you've been a sub to a company for a number of years. You've kind of been looking over their shoulder, seeing how they do things. You've gained a substantial amount of revenue. You've also stabilized your company in terms of profitability. And now you're ready to move on to becoming a prime, and using the 8A designation is one way that you can do that, right? So SBA loves to see that journey, right, that you've taken as a subcontractor transitioning into a prime contractor. And then the other thing, obviously, is the government has to have a demand for your products or services, which in most cases they do. All right, so that's successful characteristics of an 8A company. Back to the polling question, just asking about you guys in terms of, what would it take to get you guys to move on to engaging with us as a company. And so, yeah, good results there. Thank you for providing that feedback. So need help with the 2-year waiver. We can certainly help you there. We can help you to market your services better, offer webinars such as this to introduce network businesses, Nix code to increase capacity to bid on opportunities, getting 8A certified, assist with getting contracts and GSA schedule. So yeah, all these things we can help you with. Schedule a one-on-one consultation with us at the end, and we can certainly get you moved into that direction and help you with all the issues that you're mentioning there. Okay. All right. So let me go back to the slide now. Share results and then get out. Okay. All right. Okay, let me try this one more time. I had trouble getting back into the presentation. There we go. Okay. All right, so those are all the successful characteristics of an 8A company. Take note of that. And if I were you, I'd definitely try to check each one of those boxes because that's what's going to make your application look strong when SBA does take a look at it. Okay. The application frequently asked questions. So what are some of the reasons for the denial? Incomplete package is usually one of the reasons why SBA does return it back to you. So make sure the package is complete. That's our job. If you hire us, we will make sure it's complete. That the potential for success is not met. Certainly, you haven't demonstrated to the SBA that you are stable as a company, that you have a clean background as the owner, and those kinds of things has to be demonstrated, right, to get your application approved. There are control issues, right? They want to know that control issues are not or a reason for concern, affiliation issues as well. And then number five, the 70% revenue rule is a biggie as well. Diversified income streams, definitely something that you should be focused on as well. So we're up to our final question, question 7. We just wanted to know basically if you're looking to work with us, what's your time frame? So if you can provide those answers, that'd be great. Back to the frequently asked questions about the application. Over 85% of the applications, this is according to SBA, have been returned for the reasons that are mentioned there to the right, which means that the majority of the applications have not been filled out correctly. And that's why we offer the service that we do, because again, we sweat the details. We make sure your application is compliant with the SBA requirements before we submit. And if there is any objection on the part of SBA, we work on your behalf to overcome those objections and to get your application resubmitted so that you can move forward. Okay. The application itself can be found at certifysba.gov. I don't know if you guys have been on the site, but that's basically the website that you go to find the application and begin the application process. Presentation takeaways. All right, so if you don't remember anything else, remember these takeaways. SBA designation is a unique and straightforward way of having your company to grow using that designation. It's easier than ever to acquire the SBA designation. It is. It used to be very difficult. When I got into the program back in the early 90s, it took me 2.5 years to get into the program, right? So as bad as it may seem now, back in the old days, right, it was even worse. The program has definitely gotten a lot better at helping to speed up the process of getting you into the program, assuming you can overcome all the objections that I've already talked about, right? The SBA designation can facilitate your entry into the federal contracting market. It did for me. I had no federal government experience before I got into the program, and the program helped me to basically grow into a very successful federal government contractor that was able to do business outside of the 8A program effectively, right? So it also allows you to sustain your long-term growth. And without a systematic marketing and capture management plan, you will join the 70% of the companies that never receive an 8A contract. What I mean by that is you got to have a successful strategy to implement in order to basically get the as much mileage as you can out of the 8A designation, right? So I think that's it as far as questions are concerned. If you have not submitted them, please do. And at this point, I will take them and I will turn this back over to Malcolm to close this out, or I shouldn't say close this out, but to answer any questions that have been posted, and we can go from there.
Alrighty, I believe we have um, one from Miss Melanie Heck. Would a disability be considered socially disadvantaged under SBA?
No. SBA does not consider that as being disadvantaged. You do have to meet the eligibility criteria as it pertains to being economically and socially disadvantaged in order to get into the program. Yep.
And then in addition to that, we have another question from Mr. Oscar Neto. Oh, yeah, that one got answered. Alrighty. Um, let's see here.
All right, I'll look at them. I'll just kind of scroll through them. So it looks like we have one question that says we are 8A certified, did not receive 8A contracts. Yeah, definitely talk to us about marketing and capture management plan service that we can offer to help you to win contracts with it with the 8A designation. We are not 8A certified yet, but already completed several federal. So these are all more so comments than questions. Will this presentation be distributed to participants? We will make this presentation available on our YouTube platform. and it will be distributed, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, Julie, individually as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right, Mike.
All right, so yes, the answer is yes, you will receive this presentation within the next 24 hours, not immediately, but certainly within the next 24 hours. So yeah, I'm looking at more comments than questions, and these are all great comments. So I would encourage you to, yeah, so here's a question. How do I schedule a consultation with RMC? We do provide a link, Julie. I'm not sure how, but we do provide a link that you can schedule some time on my calendar to meet and talk with us during the free consultation. So certainly do that. Julie, how would they access that link?
I put it in the comment section, Mike. And if you could
Okay.
also scroll down to the next slide, it's also
Oh, the next slide.
posted in there. Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So there you have it. You can basically schedule time with us um, using the link that's provided there. Okay. All right. I want to thank you guys for attending this webinar. As you see here on the screen, we do have some upcoming webinars that we'd welcome you to attend as well. September 12th, we will be talking about the GSA proposal process, getting on schedule. Very important step in the journey of becoming a successful government contractor. So join us for that. We'll also talk about contract administration and compliance for the GSA schedule. So if you are a GSA schedule holder and you need some assistance in terms of making sure you're in compliance, definitely be a part of that webinar as well. Marketing and capture management support. I know there were several comments about needing our assistance there. We will have another webinar on that topic on the 26th of September. And then they kind of repeat themselves as you see there going forward into the month of October. We also will, at the end of October, as you see, have a webinar on CMMC compliance. Very important. If you haven't heard about that, you need to read up on it. If you want to do business with the government, you got to be CMMC level 2 compliant sometime in the next couple of years, or else you won't be able to access doing business with the government at all. It is a requirement that is coming. So get ready. Okay. So thank you for your time. That concludes our presentation. Access our link to schedule some one-on-one consultation with us, and we'll look forward to talking with you then. All right. Thank you.